Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ouroboros, and now that it has been out for almost a full month now, I feel we've given it enough time before starting to do a review on Shadow of War, the new Middle-earth game following the critically acclaimed Shadow of Mordor, which was fantastic in every sense of the word. But before we get into the meat of the matter, we're going to discuss something that is a little controversial, and I say little, but it's actually highly controversial. And before I get started, I want to say that if you do want a better viewpoint on this than my own, because he is fantastic, I highly recommend you watch SidAlpha's videos on the subject matter. He is an excellent YouTuber who keeps himself almost always professional. But with that, let's get started with the controversy surrounding Shadow of War. The first of which is loot boxes. Now, when it was announced that loot boxes were going to be in Shadow of War, and for the life of me, I can't figure out why they were added into the game. Because essentially loot boxes have been a cosmetic option only, and I think no game did it better than Overwatch, whose entire loot box collection is completely cosmetic. There is no game-affecting items that you can get from the loot boxes, which is a good thing in my opinion, because if you want to get that, all you gotta do is play the game and you'll have your chance to get whatever you want. So the randomness of it notwithstanding, it is a relatively good system. Now, what Shadow of War does is their loot boxes are for, their loot boxes do have game-affecting content in them. Because your loot boxes, when you get them and you open them, they either give you gear, which we will cover, or they give you orcs to use in your army, which we will also cover. And I'm thinking, so instead of giving us cosmetics to use in the game from the loot box, you are directly making it so that the loot boxes affect our in-game experience. And when I saw that, I just could not help myself when I was outraged. It was just completely ridiculous. There was no reason for the loot boxes to do that. There was even less reason for the loot boxes to exist in a single-player based game, but that ain't my call. So yeah, that's the whole controversy regarding loot boxes in this game. You can get high-level orcs from the loot boxes, higher-level orcs than the ones that you can find in-game, if your level is high enough. And they always come in epic or legendary levels, if I'm correct. I don't know if I am, to be honest, but every orc that I've gotten from the loot boxes that I got for free were epic and legendary level. So that's all I've got for that. The other bit of controversy surrounding this game is the Forthog DLC. Now, a little bit of backstory on that is that one of the developers, Mike Forgy, did pass away during the production and development of Shadow of War, and this was very, very sad because this game is great. I really am sad that he didn't get to live to see this great game being published and its success afterwards. But so what WB, we're not getting to WB just yet. First we're going to get into what the developers did. Now the developers, being the great people that they are, they decided that to honor their fallen colleague, they were going to add an orc into the game called Forthog. Now Forthog is very mysterious stranger, because if you get downed by an orc, you trigger a last stand. Now, occasionally, if you trigger last stand, Forthog will show up and he will absolutely destroy the orc that's trying to kill you. And I love it. It's great. And then he'll leave behind some kind of comment regarding it before just flying off into the distance. He doesn't actually fly, but you get the idea. So, onto what the controversy was. Well, WB decided to make Forthog a paid DLC. Forthog was going to be available day one for $5, and WB went out saying that money made from the Forthog DLC was going to go to Mike Forgey's family, and I thought that was a really, really good idea, and it was very generous of WB. Then I found out that only $3.50 of the $5 it cost to get Forthog was going to the family of Mike Forgey, and then I lost all my respect for WB on the spot, because there's such a thing that 60% of the profit made from Forthog was going to Mike Forgey's family, and I thought, well, where's the other 40% going? You know, what are you doing with that other $1.50? Where is it going? Is it going to you? Is it going to something else? What are you using that $1.50 for? And I do not recall any details being released about that, so I can only assume that WB had intended for it to go to them. However, after the drastic community uproar regarding that controversy, WB backpedaled and they made Forthog a free day one DLC that everybody has access to. And while that is good, it does not overlook the fact that WB was not going to be putting all the proceeds of the Forthog DLC towards Mike Forgey's family when it was actually a paid DLC. So that will forever be a stain upon their reputation, however good that might be at this point. And now, with those two controversies out of the way, let us get into the meat of the matter. So, Shadow of War. If you played Shadow of Mordor, a lot of the game mechanics are going to seem familiar to you, and that is because they are. There was no need to change a lot of it, and the developers saw that and decided, yeah, we're going to keep a lot of this the same, but we're going to add some new stuff just to spice it up and make it a little bit better. And I love what they did, because there was no need to change a great deal of the game. It was good as it was, but they decided to make some minor changes and some major changes, and the result of which produced this glorious, glorious game. So the first thing I do want to speak about is the skill system. It is different from Shadow of Mordor in a very major and minor capacity. You do still have skill tiers, so you do still have to get high enough to purchase certain skills. However, now it is completely focused on your level. It doesn't require you to have a certain power level, per se, like it did in Shadow of Mordor, where you had to get so much power to get to the next skill tier. Now it is directly linked to your level. And as soon as you get a skill point and get to that level, you can purchase skills in that skill tier. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the skill trees, because that's what it is. It is a set of skill trees now. You've got one for combat, which is just to make you more of an orc-slaying badass when you're surrounded by orcs. You've got your predator skill tree, which makes you a sneakier orc-slaying badass. It gives you a bunch of buffs that allow you to more easily stealth kill enemies. You've got your range tree, which causes you to be an even better slayer of all things from a range. You've got your wraith tree, and this tree is basically about Celebrimbor. It enhances how Celebrimbor helps you in both stealth and combat, so that's fun. And here is your mounted tree. This is exactly what it sounds like. It is about mounting Caragors, Graugs, and other such things. As you can see, I have not put a lot of points into it, but I want to point this out. Dragon Rider, yes, you can mount and fly around on a dragon, and it is awesome. As soon as I get this skill, I am making a video showing me flying around, setting everything on fire. And the final skill tree is a story skill tree. These are just skills that you acquire pretty much at the start of the game that are story related, and you will get more skills as the game progresses. So this is just how it is. You get skill points by increasing your level. There are also other ways you can get skill points by completing events in the world. But other than that, it's not all that complicated. It is a little extensive. Now, these little sub-areas next to the main skills, these are extra skills to add on top of these new upgrade skills that you get. Now, you can only have one of them active per main skill, which is a little disappointing because I would have loved to have all of them active at the same time. It would have been awesome, in my opinion. But they didn't agree with me on that one, and I can't blame them because that would kind of be stupid. So next thing we're going to go over is the Nemesis System. Now, everybody that played Shadow of Mordor is going to remember the Nemesis System, and you are going to remember how great the Nemesis System was. Well, it's back. It's better than ever. You've still got your regular orc captains down here, but now, up here, you have war chiefs. War chiefs are essentially badass versions of normal orc captains. They're really hard to kill, and they have bodyguards. So that's that. And above the war chief, you have the overlord, who is exceptionally hard to kill most times. Let's just take a look at this warlord. This overlord. He can be damaged by range attacks, he can be damaged by executions, and he can be damaged by stealth attacks. Weaknesses? That's it. That's all he's got. He can throw epic poison bombs. He rides a dire Caragor. He has a poison weapon. He has a gang of warriors. He has poison mines. He is a destroyer. He's got so many bonuses that you can tell right off the bat this fight is going to be very, very difficult. And it's so great. Because even if you do take over all the orcs, if you took over every single war chief, you still have to fight the overlord by yourself. Yes, that's kind of shitty, but at the same time, it's kind of good in my opinion, because if you can just kill the overlord by having a whole bunch of orcs fight him, then what's the point of even leveling yourself and making yourself into this orc-slaying badass of a man? But no, so the Nemesis System works the same. You can kill orcs, you can dominate orcs to bring them into your army, and if an orc kills you, well, they immediately become an orc captain, and they can either be vendetta killed, or someone can kill them for you, because now online vendettas do exist, or no, they still exist from Shadow of War, or from Shadow of Mordor. Yes, online vendettas do still exist. You can go and avenge your friends and kill them, or kill the guy that killed them. I believe it does affect their in-game world. I'm not entirely certain, because I've not had any of my friends message me after I've avenged their death at the hands of, like Garl. Look at that, man. This is the face of an orc that absolutely does not care. You can tell he does not care. But yeah, when you can also take your orcs and you can command them to kill other orcs, which that's not entirely, new, but it is still there. It is still a mechanic, and it's great. I just got my guy, Ulrich the Flesh Lover of all flesh, to go and try. He's going to go and kill Garl. No title, because he does not care. And you trigger this fight by going to the in-game mission involving your controlled orc. So Nemesis System hasn't changed all that much, but it is still great. It does play into another mechanic of the game, which we will cover later. So, combat. Combat is mostly the same still. You are the orc-slaying badass Talion and Celebrimbor. You have this awesome sword that you can upgrade through various different things. And you just go around slaying all orcs in your path because you are the orc-slaying badass Talion. Now, they have made some changes to combat. If you'll look above the map HUD, you will see an orange bar. That is the might meter. Now, might is needed for executions. Executions are no longer triggered by getting a certain hit streak. Instead, you build up your might meter, and when it's full, you can execute, or you can perform an execution, as there are multiple executions in the game to utilize. And executions are still glorious, like that. And there is another new mechanic for combat. It is called Elven Rage. And essentially, Talion takes a back seat and Celebrimbor comes out, and then everything just starts dying. I would like to show you, but I would also like to get a reasonable amount of orcs to show you with, because this is something that you can't just do on a small number of orcs for reasons you will understand once I show you. But yes, combat is also affected by new upgrades that you can get from your weaponry and armor. It does affect how you perform in combat, and we will now trigger Elven Rage, and Celebrimbor coming out with the ultimate badass mode of badassery. While in this state, you have infinite executions, so it's really helpful for fighting those enemies that are weak to executions, and you'll see that every single orc in the area is now dead. And this is what I mean when I say that Celebrimbor comes out and becomes the ultimate badass slayer of orcs. Yeah, and you can take mounted critters into battle still. That did not change in any way. Now, the thing about Elven Light is that it takes forever to charge Elven Light, and it lasts for maybe 5 seconds. So, when you do have your Elven Rage ability active, you need to start making kills quickly before you run out, or you're going to have wasted it, and it's too valuable a mechanic to just waste it. Now, let us move on to stealth. The stealth system is, like the combat system, relatively the same. You creep around unseen because you are Talion, the orc-slaying stealth master. But they have made stealth slightly easier for those who played Shadow of Mordor. You will remember trying to stealth past orcs at this blindingly creep-slow speed, and they would see you because, you know, you're moving so goddamn slowly. Well, now, the developers put in a mechanic where you can move really fast, no matter what. You'll also remember the Elven agility skill from Shadow of Mordor, where if you hopped over something and then pressed A at the right time, it would trigger a massive speed boost. Well, now you can do that just by pressing down on your movement stick. Look at me move. I'm so fast. I'm goddamn Sonic. But you can do this in stealth, too. Look at this. I'm Sonic, the stealthing ninja. And you can do it going up structures, too, to make going up and climbing faster. So, yes, they have made stealth slightly easier in the sense that it is easier to move around. But other than that, stealth is the same. Nothing about it has changed. You can poison stuff, you can stab stuff, you can set stuff on fire, you can do all of the stuff that you could do in the original Shadow of Mordor when it comes to stealth. Now we go on to the loot system. The loot system is not a new mechanic for Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War, but in Shadow of War they have changed the loot system significantly. So now, instead of just having loot for your weapons only, you have loot for everything. You have loot, you have sword loot, you have bow loot, you have dagger loot, you have got armor loot. So let us take a swift look at the loot. Okay, so you will see that I have got a lot of purple loot. This is the highest rarity of loot you can get. This is legendary gear. This is an epic level gear, because I am trash, obviously. Now, how you get loot is you get it from killing orc captains. Yeah, and you can see that I've got a whole bunch of swords here that I'm not using, because they are not as good as my current sword. Because I've got, let's look at this. Level 27 legendary sword, 60 melee attack. I got this from Tukog the knower of all knows. And each glaive attack creates an explosion, which glaive is another new weapon that you can use. You hold down the X button to swing a glaive around, and it does AoE attacks. And it also gives me 29 health recovery on an execution, which is really, really helpful when you're in the middle of a fight. And now you will see at the bottom of the weapon 2 bonuses from a set. So you'll see that one of them, if I get 2 of the item set, will be Call Followers summons Sappers, and Iron Guard summons more Sappers. So this is a good thing. When I get 2 of these items, I can summon more allies to fight alongside me, and the ones that it will summon will be Sappers, who are really annoying. Now, if I get 4 of the set, you'll see that Elven Light will also scatter explosives around me when I use it. Elven Light is one of your executions. It's not particularly powerful in my opinion, but it is very useful. And we go over here to my dagger, and this is the Bright Lord's dagger, so it's Celebrimbor's. I got this from another in-game event. You can see that it's got 379 stealth attack. What a god. And you'll see that the 2 sets are, I can gain Wrath 50% faster, but my Elven Rage will last half as long, which is not a bonus I'm willing to get. And then there's the last one, which is Replenish all Elf Shot when killing an enemy during Elven Rage. That's actually pretty good, because Elf Shot is great. And my bow is just good. It's not all that great, but it's good. Now the legendary sets, they all have gear bonuses based on if you get all of them. And that's what's really important. I've got this armor here where if I get all of them, I get 100 health when I kill a fleeing enemy, which is not very often. But all of these are really good, and the weapon upgrades and armor upgrades that you can get from them, these are pretty awesome. Now there's one bow that I want to show you all because it is a bow that I absolutely want. You'll see this Bow of Beasts that I got from Baga the Bitter. I want you to read the set bonuses, or I'm going to read them with you. You can shadow mount Unbroken Graugs, which means that when I get this bonus, if I see a Graug at full health and I have shadow mount, I can immediately mount that Graug. And you'll see the last one is that if I can do the same thing for a dragon if I get all 4 pieces. And I'm never getting rid of this bow. I'm going to try and upgrade this bow as much as I can. As you'll see, there's a level 40 upgrade challenge. Completing that challenge will upgrade this bow to level 40. And I want to do that because this bow is amazing. So I will never destroy this weapon. Ever. It's too good. And you also have Mirian, the silver from the first game, which you'll all remember that in the first game it was rather difficult to find it all so that you could upgrade your stuff to the highest possible level. Now it is the in-game currency, and it is very, very easy to find. Also, you can get loot from the market through the use of loot boxes. I will never, ever purchase a loot box. Ever. Unless the game gives me the money to do it, I am never purchasing a loot box, because that would require purchasing using real world money to get this, and I do not love loot boxes in any way, so I'm never going to support them by throwing money at them. I have gotten premium currency for free from the game just by playing the game, and it did allow me to get loot boxes, which I did, but that's all I ever did with it. I never bought any currency to buy loot boxes with, and I never will, for I believe that is just not okay. I don't believe you should be able to affect a single-player gameplay experience like this. Throw money at it to make it easier, and that's a no-go. And on to the final thing that I wish to speak of. It is the fortress battle mechanic. Now, there are fortresses in this game now and taking a fortress is not an easy feat, because as you saw earlier, there are a lot of orc captains, but above them are the war chiefs. The war chiefs play a very important role when it comes to a fort, because they control the fort's defenses. Now, if you go to the army tab and you look at the fort in this area, you'll see that there's a siege upgrade option. You press that, and here is your army, the army that you are going to assault the fort with, and here are their war chiefs, and you can see what upgrade the war chief has for the stronghold. So this particular war chief, who is the last war chief alive, God rest his soul, he has a army of defenders helping out on the fort, which makes it harder to control victory points. And you need all the victory points before you can go and fight the Overlord, who also gives the fortress a buff. Reinforced stone walls. These have increased resistance to attack, which means Ologs have a harder time breaking through them. But I believe the maximum you can have in any one fort is 6. And the maximum assault leaders that you can have on your side is also 6. But you can purchase upgrades for your assault leaders to make your force stronger. You see, you got sappers here who charge the gates, and let's be honest, they probably blow themselves up. You've got mounted cavalry. These guys are amazing. They're really hard to deal with. And then you've got an army of Ologs who just break down the walls because they don't like doors. And over here you've got savages. These guys are always annoying. And you can also bring in defenders, and you can bring in hunters. Each assault leader has locked in upgrades that you can give for them, but there are 3 of those locked in upgrades, so you're free to choose. It's like you got Fire Siege Beast, Poison Siege Beast, and Cursed Siege Beast. Cursed is a new damage type. Not entirely certain its effect on the orcs, but I know on us it does damage over time, and it keeps us from using some abilities. And yeah, Wargraug. You can summon spiders. I'm not entirely certain what the purpose of that is. That seems pretty useless to me. Dragon. Yes, you can get a dragon on your assault force. The problem is that the dragon does not discriminate between you and the enemy, so be careful. And I'm just going through all of them now just to give you an idea of what you can get. Fire archers, long-range archers, mounted archers. These guys are probably pretty good. Banners and overpower. Yeah. So that's all there is to the assault fortresses. Yeah, you can unlock a new assault leader every reasonable amount of levels. I'm level 27, so I have to get up 8 more levels before I get this one unlocked. But you can also take out the war chiefs altogether to neutralize their bonus towards the stronghold. Or you can take control of the war chief, and upon you attacking the stronghold, when you go to the victory point controlled by that war chief, you can automatically take it, and he will join your fight against the defending orcs, and it just makes things a lot faster. That's how I would say the stealth taking of the fortress goes. In my opinion, that's pretty much the only way you can stealth it. I mean, you can go stealth inside the fortress, but it's rather pointless when you've got an army of orcs charging through the gates. So, this just seems like the only way of actually stealth taking a stronghold. And I understand that I'm swapping between stronghold and fortress, I just can't help it. And that is all I have for the day, ladies and gentlemen. If you liked this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. My name is Ouroboros HD, and I will see you all next time.